Okay, the next definition we have is the convenience sampling and the voluntary response sampling. Now, these things you have already experienced in your life, uh, probably more than once. I'm pretty sure all of you have already experienced this. So, convenience sampling, what it could be, as you can see, or rather, as you could understand, just by the words convenience, it actually means the same. That means whatever the uh, uh, whatever the man is doing, I mean, whatever he's trying to, uh, wherever he is trying to collect data from, or whatever he's trying to do for his survey, he is actually trying to be in his comfort zone. What does it mean? So uh, he picks up samples by just selecting what is convenient to him. That means he's let's say for the pollster example, if you remember, he was collecting data for the next election. He was hired by someone. It could be this current mayor or the opposition party candidate as well. It could be anyone. Let's say, for example, the current mayor hired him for doing this, for conducting this survey. What will happen in the next election, right? If you remember, we are still working with that particular example, and we're trying to relate different things on that uh, pollster, or rather with that pollster. So if that pollster is going to different places and picking up people and collecting data from them for conducting the survey, then there is randomness. No worries with that. We know what does randomness mean. But excuse me, if he asks people whether or not they are willing to do the survey for him, or provide information for him, or answer questions for him, and he only picks up the first couple of people, standing at a place, at a particular place. He's not going anywhere. He's not going to different places. He's just standing or waiting at a particular place, let's say with a chair and table. He is sitting at the intersection of two roads, okay? And he's just asking people whether or not they will participate in that survey, or who agrees to speak to him, okay? So as you can see, he's picking up people who are convenient to pick up for him, who are easier to collect data from, right? So we say this is a convenience sample. Can you see that? Okay. Now the next one, as I said, I'm pretty sure all of you have already experienced it, and most probably more than once. Next one is voluntary response sampling. Okay, now I guess you can clearly understand by the words it's been phrased by. So it says voluntary. That means he's just going to wait for people, whatever he's doing the survey on, He will just wait for people to attend or to uh, participate in that survey voluntarily. Okay. Now, where have you seen this before? I'll take answers from all of you. Just don't look at example 13 as yet. Try to just try to see the definition. It says voluntary response sampling is allowing the sample to volunteer. Okay, that means for example, whoever is collecting data is waiting for people who will be a part of his survey voluntarily. Okay, where have you seen this before? I'll take answers from all of you. It will help you to actually see this because you have already experienced it, I'm pretty sure. Where have you seen this voluntary response sampling? Okay, I have already one answer. When you buy something, there is sometimes something on the receipt that says, take this survey and you get an incentive. Very good. Exactly. Exactly. I'll come back to you. Anyone else? Anyone else have the same experience, or you can imagine one experience that could be this, voluntary response sampling? As I said, I'm pretty sure all of you have already experienced it. Maybe you didn't, maybe you haven't thought it this way, because probably this is the first time you're watching or you're observing this definition, right? When I'll disclose, or rather when I'll try to describe it, you will see, soon say, okay, that's what it is. Okay, I have one more. UWYO Health Services Surveys. Okay. I haven't really done this survey as yet, but probably, yeah, this makes sense. Probably, if it says that you can do this survey for just trying to improve the situation of the health center or the health insurance service provider, something like that, then it definitely falls into that category. Yeah. But if it's mandatory for everyone, then it's not voluntary response sampling. Okay. Okay. So next one is those YouTube survey ads that ask what movie you have heard of and present your list. Yeah, very good example. Definitely. When I guess I see this type of survey every day on YouTube. Okay, I spend a lot of time on YouTube, watching different videos for my graduate courses, and probably each day I encounter this. They actually give you some service and all that. I have skipped it every time I have seen it, but yeah, this definitely is a voluntary response sampling. Anyone else? Anyone else has a different experience other than these three? I'm not sure if anyone is trying to say anything. I hope the sound is working fine. Okay, so let me give you one from this class. If you remember, a couple of days back, I guess the start of this topic, I mean, after the spring break, I gave you a survey on how we are doing with the course, if you remember. And you are not forced to take part in that. You are just asked if you are willing to share your thoughts, then you could do that anonymously, and I guess 15 to 16 out of 38 of you took part in that, and it was definitely a voluntary response sampling, right? It was a voluntary uh, response, or rather voluntary survey. You did take part in it, but voluntarily. You were not asked to do it. I mean, you were not obliged to do that, right? Can you relate now? So in our course, we have already experienced this, right? Does it make sense now? Just try to imagine. Okay, now let's quickly go and see example 13. Example 13 says uh, a website has a survey asking readers to give their opinion on a tax proposal. This is a self-selected sample or voluntary response sample in which respondents volunteer to participate. Exactly. So if you have earned something in 2020, that means you're already preparing your tax return uh, this April. If you haven't done already, like I have already filed my tax, so uh, either you have already done it or you are on the way uh, to complete it. I mean, you are definitely going to file your tax. I guess it's within May 15th. So that means uh, the online platform you are using for filing the tax return, they might ask you, hey, can you give us a, a minute or two to provide feedback on how are we doing? How did you find, let's say I used Glacier, let's say they might ask how easy it is to use Glacier, or different type of questions, how well the agent worked with you. They will have different setup, different questions depending on what you are doing. So they will ask you to give your opinion, and obviously it's a self-select sample because you can take part in this voluntarily. So this is a voluntary response sample. Let's take a smallish uh, pause here. If you have any question, we can go back to that and rediscuss. Anyone? Any question? Anything you might be struggling to understand? All good? Okay, perfect. Let's move on then. Okay. What else we have? Oh, okay. Try it now. 4. So I guess it was a pre-class assignment, and I don't think I have received. I think I have received 3 only. So I don't think I have received more than that. Okay, I understand you have workload which you are struggling to maintain, but if you're not doing it, I guess you have only yourself to blame, to be honest, because when you attempt these problems, this gives you an idea where are you standing with those definitions and basic concepts. Okay, you can always cross check your work with the concept you have and it's definitely really, really helpful. Okay. Anyway, let's solve it now. Let's do it now. I think it's a good time we can solve it. And I'll take answers from you. What should be the answer for try it now 4? I'll take answers one by one. Okay. So what you can do, you can write it in a private message to me. And I'll start with problem A. So it says every 4th person in the class was selected. So you need to find what type of sampling method it could be. And I will ask you the reason behind choosing that method. That means you can't really copy it from the answer book. You need to have your own reasons behind it. You need to have your explanations, okay? And fortunately, I'll do randomness here. You know, I'll go to the participants list and I'll randomly pick up people and I'll ask you to explain it. If you don't know, no worries. Together we'll try to overcome this situation. If you know it, that's even better. Okay, but if you don't know, no worries at all. But you need to have your own explanations. Okay, so I think I already have a couple of answers. I only have 3 answers. I want all of you to have your answers. You may not write the reasons with the answer. You just have the answer and I'll randomly ask the explanation. Okay. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 answers. I expect a couple of more. Will, can you hear me? I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Is it Will Godi? Can you hear me? Okay, so can you explain audio isn't working? My audio or yours? Sorry. Oh, okay, you can hear Will. I don't think I can hear you. Let me see what's wrong. Ah, that's the problem. I hate this technology. My sound looks all right. Can anyone try to speak? Maybe I can cross-check.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so first of all, did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah, it's Gowdy.
Gowdy, sorry for that.
No worries.
I'm really bad at this. Okay, so why do you think, I guess you said it's systematic. Okay, why do you think it's systematic? What's the reason behind it?
Because it's every 4th person, and the definition for systematic is every nth person. So the number, you know, since it's every 4th person, it's going systematically.
Very good. Yeah, exactly. If you go back to the definition, the systematic sampling says, let me quickly show you the definition of systematic. On page 235, I believe. Yeah, as you can see on the screen, it says every nth member of the population is selected to be in the sample. So he is picking up every fourth student, I guess. Every fourth person in the class. So that means it's a systematic sampling. Is there anyone who has confusions on that? Because I can see a couple of different answers. Is there anyone who wants me to re-explain why is it systematic? Because again, I have different answers for A. I have some other answers which is perhaps wrong anyway, but now does it make sense to everyone? Again, the homework questions or even in the exam, you'll have similar questions. So it's a really, really good example to cross-check your concept with the known one or with the probably the solutions at the back end of this chapter. Okay. Okay, I hope it makes sense now. Now let's go for B. It says a sample was selected to contain 25 men and 35 women. So what type of sampling method you think it should be? It says every fourth person, every 25 men and 35 women. Not every, I guess I should rephrase it. The sample itself contained 25 men and 35 women in total. So what type of?
This is supposed to be cluster sampling.
Okay, and why do you think it's a cluster sampling?
It's because it's two different groups and there are two subgroups that are just based off the definition.
All right, let's see if anyone else has a different opinion. I can already see a couple of different answers for it. Okay, I have stratified, cluster, stratified, cluster, stratified. Okay, so I have, really, really good the harmony in between the answers. I have one stratified followed by a cluster, then a stratified, and then another cluster. Okay. Then it says the next one is cluster. Okay, the stratified because it's putting the population into subgroups. In this case, men and women are subgroups. Okay, so I have again different answers, and this shows that although the stories look pretty obvious or pretty easy when you eyeball it, when you actually solve it, that might create problems for you. It could lead you to different answers. Okay. Okay. Now let's quickly go back to the definitions. The reason I'm doing this so that you can see why it is not and why it is. I mean, why it is not that answer and why it is the answer we'll finally disclose after a while. So let's quickly see the definitions. Okay, stratified sampling says it's divided into a number of subgroups and random samples are then taken from each subgroup with sample sizes proportional to the size of the population. Okay, so can we say our given problem is stratified one? And the answer is yes, because the population is divided into two subgroups, which is men and women. And then we have picked up a number of people for our sample. Okay, so definitely stratified sample looks a right answer. Let's see whether we have more which matches to this. Okay, let's see quota sampling. So quota sampling is a variation on stratified sampling. So it's a special, case of that stratified sampling, wherein samples are collected in each subgroup until the desired quota is met. Okay, so is the question we're dealing with falls into this category? And the answer is yes. Why? Because we actually have quotas which we want to satisfy. We want to pick up 25, I guess, let me have the numbers right so that it doesn't confuse you. So we want to have here 25 men and 35 women. So there is a certain number which we want to satisfy, right? So it's definitely a quota sampling. Is it a cluster sampling? Let's see. So cluster sampling says the population is divided into subgroups and a set of subgroups are selected to be in the sample. And if you remember, excuse me, we had one example to understand this. In UWIO, we have several classes, probably more than 100 of classes, right? Especially in maths. Let's say in maths, we have undergraduate, graduate courses, we have graduate courses, we have, we have more than 20 courses being offered this spring as well. And so we can consider these as the subgroups, and we can only pick up this course for the sample, Math 1000. Okay, or we can pick up 2 or 3 classes out of the 20 odd courses being offered for this spring. So that would be a cluster sampling. Now the problem we definitely have divided the population into subgroups. We have actually divided into 2 subgroups, men and women, and a set of subgroups are selected. That means in a cluster sampling, we're not really taking all the subgroups to be in the sample. Only a set of subgroups. That means a number of subgroups will be selected, not all of those. So I assume the problem we have doesn't really fall into cluster sampling. Any questions from this one? Because I can see at least half of you have cluster sampling method as your answer. At least half of you have it. Anyone wants me to re-explain why it's a quota sampling, or why it's not a cluster sampling or something like that? So meanwhile, I'm actually showing you how to deal with these problems. So you have the definitions at the back of your head, and you cross-check with each of those to see whether it matches the given data set or not. Okay? It's a kind of trial and error. You can always check and see whether it falls into that particular category. and then go to the next one and keep repeating that. Okay. For most problems, you will not be required to do this because, for example, for the first one had the nth people selected from the population. So you can clearly understand that it should be systematic by the definition. You don't need to really check the other sampling methods. So that saves you time. But obviously you can always cross-check with each of the definitions you know. Okay, what's the next one? The next one is, okay, yeah. Viewers of a new show are asked to vote on the show's website. Okay. Now, what it could be? Okay, so I can see convenience sampling, convenience and voluntary, convenience. Next is voluntary. Okay, so again, you can see we have different answers. Both of the answers could be right. That's not a concern, but you can see we have a variety of answers. Next one is convenience. Okay, so, all right. So viewers of a new show are asked to vote on the show's, oh, sorry, new show. My bad. Someone could have corrected me. Sorry for that. That's why I was wondering how could viewers of a new show come to the poll or poll or survey. That's a new show. Sorry for that. Yeah, I forgot my glasses. So anyway, yeah, viewers of a new show are asked to vote on the show's website. So let's say a new show's been launched, and to see how people are liking that, how well they're taking it, and how well they're rating it, the show might ask its viewers to vote on the show's website. It could be online. It should be mostly online anyway. So definitely, I can see uh, the the people who have already seen this show. Okay, they can participate in this survey voluntarily. They are not forced to take part in this, right? So my assumption is it definitely falls into the category voluntary sampling. Who agrees with me? Excuse me. So now the next one we need to check the other answer. Does it fall into the convenience sampling? Okay, so what is a convenience sampling? And if I'm saying that it is a convenient sampling, what's the reason behind it? I can see one reason being explained. Convenience sampling because they are just asking the immediate people that already watch the show. Okay, so first of all, if I go back really deep into this, can anyone tell me what's the population for this? What could be the population for this problem?
Viewers of the show.
Sorry, could you please repeat it?
The viewers of the show would be the
Very
population.
good, very good, yep. Only the viewers of the show is a part of the population. Not everyone, not every audience, or not every viewer of any other TV shows. So if you remember, for election, our population was eligible registered voters, right? That means for this particular problem, the eligible voters, if I say this way, the eligible voters are actually the viewers of this particular show. Okay. Now, if that's the population, that means the people who have already seen this show are actually a part of the population. And from that, this show is trying to collect data randomly, and they're not really being in their, or rather at their comfort zone. It's an online survey. So what they're doing, they're making it available for everyone, for obviously in that website. If someone goes to that website, they can definitely take part in that survey. But the question is, they have only asked to take part in the survey in that show. So those who didn't really see that show won't even know that there is a survey on the website. Okay, so I assume that it doesn't really belong or doesn't really fall into the category of convenience sampling, because in an online survey, all they could do is to make it available for everyone, okay, so that whoever have seen the show could take part in this and have their say. And that gives me an idea, just because the way I have defined the population. Okay, what's next? Well, website randomly selects 50 of their customers to send the satisfaction survey. Okay. What this could be? Randomly selects a number of people.
Well, I think it's simple random, unless it has something to do with the fact that it's only the customers. But I think it's simple random.
Okay, let's see if we have any other answers or not. Okay, stratified, because the entire population of the website users has been reduced to the subgroup of only 50 people, or possibly random. Okay, anyone else? So again, we'll go back to the definitions and see whether it actually satisfies or not. Okay. Okay, so let's see the definition. It says a random sample is one in which each member of the population has an equal probability of being chosen. That means every member of the population and any group of members has an equal probability of being chosen, right? So in our problem, it says it randomly selects 50 of their customers. So again, let's go back even further. What is the population? What could be the population of this survey? Anyone?
Customers of the website.
Very good, very good. So only the customers of this particular website is the population, right? And does every customers of this website has equal chance of being chosen, have equal chance of being in that 50 customers list? And the answer is yes. Can you see that? Is there anyone who wants me to re-explain this? Again, this looks obvious, but there are certain things you need to cross-check. We have a particular number that we are picking up 50 customers, but we're doing it randomly. And each customer on that list actually have an equal chance of being picked up. This 50 might lead you to a different answer because we have a number to deal with. Often when you see numbers, we actually go to stratify because it might mean that we are dividing the population into some subgroups. But it's not, it's actually something pretty obvious, that is whatever we are doing the survey for, we definitely have a certain number for the sample, right? We can't really do a survey on each and every one. That's why we pick up a sample. So we are randomly selecting this, and definitely all the customers has an equal chance. So definitely it's a simple random sample, okay? Okay, next, and the last one is to survey voters in a town. A polling company randomly selects 10 city blocks and interviews everyone who lives on those blocks. Now that's a funny one. That's a really, really interesting one. What it could be? I can see cluster, I can see cluster, okay. 2 of you have said it should be cluster. 3 of you have said it should be cluster. One said stratified. One said, okay, cluster. Okay, so most of you are saying it should be cluster. So we know for cluster sampling, we'll divide the population into several clusters or several subgroups. And out of those subgroups, we'll randomly pick, we'll definitely have randomness, but we'll randomly pick a certain number of groups from that. We'll not pick up people from all of the groups. We'll only pick up some random groups, and then all the people in those groups will be a part of our sample, right? So let's see whether this problem falls into cluster or not. Okay, so 10 city blocks. Okay, so in a town, we definitely have hundreds of blocks, right? Even in Laramie, it's a smallish, it's a really, really smallish town. We have probably about, it should be, okay, so 30 streets and a couple of more avenues. So I believe about 500 blocks. It could be more, right? You can actually count it on the map. It's a really smallish town. So anyway, yeah. So we have tons of blocks. And amongst all those blocks, we are only picking up 10 blocks. And the people who live on those blocks, all the people who live on these blocks will be a part of our sample. So we are not really picking people from each of the blocks. Rather, we are doing the randomness on selecting the blocks, and then on those blocks, everyone is being interviewed. Everyone is a part of our sample. So definitely it's a cluster sampling method. So job well done, very good. Most of you got it right. Even if you didn't get it right, don't get demoralized. You still have time. So we'll stop it here. We'll meet on Friday and we'll start from here, how to mess things up before we start. So your job is to go over the contents on page 236. Okay, so take care. I'll see you guys on Friday.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one.